I was like the Syracuse Group super soldier. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better clay to mold, you know what I'm saying?
I think the practice over there is dangerous. I don't think they're mainstream AA. I don't think that's what AA is about.
You know, this group is hiding behind what AA's worked so hard to build. And they're shady and creepy, and AA is a good place. Yeah, there it is. Look at that fucking thing. I get anxiety. I get fucking anxiety, man. Just looking at it.
If you're an alcoholic, this outfit, this place, this situation is your best bet. It's 732 Butternut Street.
Every day, dozens of people walk through the front door of 732 Butternut Street on Syracuse's north side, thinking they're attending a traditional Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. But the Syracuse Group is something vastly different. They offer a hardcore, controlling brand of sobriety that looks down on outside help and medication. For decades, the Syracuse Group has operated below the radar in an unregulated world of self-help groups. The only requirement to call yourself an AA group is 2 people with a desire to stop drinking. No government agency at any level regulates the group's actions or methods. Syracuse.com reporters conducted a year-long investigation, interviewing more than 50 people about the group's practices and reviewing 20 hours of publicly available audio recordings of Syracuse Group meetings.
I discourage my patients from being part of a group, but at the same time, I cannot force them. They have to make their own decisions.
How do you tell somebody, don't get sober with these guys? Get sober everywhere else, but don't get sober with these guys. It doesn't, again, it's sort of like this illogical message where it's like, I know you want me sober, because when I'm not, I'm a monster, and God forbid I go to these guys, I'm a different kind of monster, you know?
There are good intentions, very good intentions, but there's what I consider to be an unhealthy, really not very AA or spiritual side to their philosophy, their methods.
I absolutely believe that the Syracuse Group is hurting people because they're not providing the help that people should get or need to have. It is a radical group. They're not abiding by any of the program of AA. I feel that they are a danger to people.
I don't know how many patients have died through this path. I believe it's underreported. This is dangerous practice.
There's a young man that I met at the meeting. He was a high school lacrosse player. He's a young, good-looking guy, and it's very nice. Looked like he got in trouble with drinking, and here he is at meetings. It didn't look like he had like a real serious problem going on. They told him to stop taking his medication, otherwise he wasn't sober. He hung himself at his house. When we got the news that he hung himself, there was obviously shock. One person in particular, his name was John, he stood up in the middle of the meeting and he told everybody there that he blamed them.
Over the past 30 years, thousands of people have gone to the Syracuse Group looking for the kind of help and support Alcoholics Anonymous is famous for. What many members get instead is this dangerous message: if you take medication, you're not sober. This zero-tolerance approach goes against medical standards and AA rules.
Apparently you told somebody on medicine they're not clean.
They're not. Am I allowed to say that? Is that a reasonable thing?
Allowed.
If someone came in and I began to sponsor them and they were on medication, I would tell them soon, work with your doctor and get weaned off the medication and let's see how it goes not being on medication and not drinking or drugging in sobriety. And if it goes okay, if it goes well, then good, you stay off the medication. If it does not go well, then you get back on the medication. Other group members, their way of thinking, including Ralph's, was no medications, period. You stay on medications, you leave, you go. My sponsor in particular, Ralph C., turned his back on me because I was at that point taking antidepressants to function.
They told my best friend in the program to throw out all of his medication, including his aspirin. And if he didn't, they were going to come over and do it for him.
I mentioned that, oh, I need to take my meds, and it's that time. And the person was like, you know you're not sober if you're taking your meds. And I say meds, mental health medication we're talking about here, right? And another red flag, but I'm like, what? You know, I'm not sober because I'm taking the medication for my bipolar?
I've heard of people being kicked out by their sponsors because they were taking medications.
The antidepressant that I am on was on Prozac, and the antipsychotic medication evidently were prohibited. No one would sponsor me while on these medications.
If you don't give them the appropriate, adequate treatment for their mental illnesses, you're going to keep perpetuating the alcoholism, because that's the only way they know to manage their psychiatric illness.
The fact that it's common practice for them to tell people not to take their medication, where there are people that have more severe problems than me. There's people that need to take medication to be okay. And as far as sobriety, if you need medication to stop yourself from drinking yourself to death or killing yourself, then you need to take the medication.
My apartment, my car, these were all things that they were telling me that would be a good idea to part with, since you're going to lose them anyways. And that was the very first indication to me that something wasn't right.
The Syracuse Group, also known as the Butternutters, push members to surrender in a way that's not like mainstream Alcoholics Anonymous. Former members of the group describe a militant level of control that reaches into every aspect of daily life.
The group controls people by their sponsors. They decide if you should live somewhere else. They decide if you should be doing certain activities. They dictate which meetings you go to. And you're controlled as much as possible for your own good, because they want you to keep sober. And you don't know any better, and they protect you from yourself, is what I was told.
They said that you could sleep here if you had nowhere to go. You had to get permission from 3 of the people. Oh, they had a room full of blankets and pillows that were pretty gross. And we slept on the floor there.
They couldn't sneak out. If they got caught sneaking out, they'd get kicked out.
Come live with us on the floor of 732 Butternut, and you will sleep on a cot and rebuild your entire life with us.
When I was there, it felt like a cult, you know, like it felt like a clique. It felt like there was only a few girls, and the girls kind of stuck together, and a few was like 2.
As far as women in the Syracuse Group, they are told that they should break up with their boyfriend if they have a boyfriend, and to try to block them off for most of their life outside of the group. At that point, the guys that have a more sober time would usually try to hit on them or try to date them.
Things make sense and things are good and right up to a point, but then you either cross a line with one's ego, you know, being on a power trip, or you don't cross that line and things stay cool.
I have only one patient who's part of that group, and what she tells me is I go there because I feel a sense of identity when I go there. She said, these are exactly her words, it's like a cult.
It just hit me. I'm like, you know what? This is a fucking cult. The group started to get me really wound up. I was being told that everything that I put before my sobriety, I was gonna lose. Now I'm angry and it was just a total mental breakdown. I had driven off the highway at 110 miles an hour.
Many former Syracuse Group members relapsed or found their mental illness spiraling out of control because they were told not to take their meds. Some were hospitalized, and at least 3 members of the group have died.
When people die, they're addicted to substances. We'll find a way to explain it away. Oh yes, they must have overdosed, or they must have committed suicide or something. And nobody really digs deep to find out why.
My mental health just completely plummeted, and I ended up going to the psych ER, and I was suicidal. I had to go inpatient for a while, and I had been inpatient for that before, but that time was particularly bad.
I lost control of the car and I slid right off the exit ramp there like a hockey puck. No injuries, no damage to the car really. I went into a swamp and just had this on my knees, God save me moment, where it was like, I don't know what to do anymore, I need help. And I remember screaming out at nothing, I need help, I just need help, I just need help. And, that line, sending the I just need help out to nothing was better than saying to this group, I need your help.
I got to the point where I decided that I couldn't live sober unless something changed. I was getting suicidal. The pain of me being me was getting too much. And in my mind, I couldn't live drunk. And now I can't live sober. So what choice do I have?
If somebody has an addiction problem and you focus both on addiction and a mental illness, and especially if they're using the addiction to self-medicate or to address the mental illness, if you don't deal with the mental illness and you focus on the addiction only, you're going to see the patient keeps relapsing and relapsing over and over because you're not treating the underlying issue.
Ignoring mental illness isn't the only bad practice by the group. For years, they have detoxed hardcore drunks overnight, sometimes against their will, without any medical help. The practice of overseeing alcoholics as they detox is against AA's rules and is also likely against the law. Detox facilities have to be licensed by the State Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services. The Syracuse Group has no such license.
I think it's dangerous for if somebody who is not well trained in handling alcohol withdrawal treatment to detox a patient on the outpatient basis.
I do know of an instance where somebody had a seizure at the Syracuse Group from being there multiple days, sleeping there, detoxing. And it happened during the meeting. He went into convulsions and fell on the floor. And they had to call 911. And the ambulance came and got him. I was actually there when it happened.
I was convinced that they would help. They kept saying, we have a spiritual solution. But it never materialized, meaning it was like breadcrumb. Oh, well, we'll show you. It'll be like us.
The Syracuse Group has been an open secret most of its existence. Many local healthcare providers in the addiction treatment world know about it, and other Alcoholics Anonymous groups know about it. Their advice? Stay away.
A little more light needs to be shed on them.
I think they hurt people, absolutely. How many people go there looking for help and don't receive the help that they're supposed to get? How many people go there and think it's AA, and then they leave thinking that AA doesn't work, and they continue drinking, and they go, well, I tried AA and it didn't work, so what choice do I have? And they go back to drinking, and those people die.
I didn't want the help that group, Syracuse Group, was offering. It was just too twisted for me.
Over time, I found a way better one that would be the only one I'd ever go to again, because it was nothing like the one on Butternut.
Regional AA organizers kicked the Syracuse Group off its list of meetings because of concerns raised by syracuse.com.
People need to know, and they also need to know what a rogue AA group looks like, and they need to know what the definition of a cult is, so that way they can get the treatment that they need most. I think it's necessary to guide people to where you're supposed to be going, and caution people to where you're not. You need to pick one. Are we AA, and are we going to abide by what AA practices, or are we going to be a fucking cult?